UFC 239, huh? Yeah. Carlisle on a trip with his work mistress. Got to go there and see it all in person. Rough night for Diego. Really rough for Holly. John Bones Jones gets by on a split decision against a guy who had a torn ACL, PCL, MCL, elemental QL, everything. Weird night. I think when you start locally, the biggest concern probably is Holly, huh?
Yeah. It is, and there's been a lot of speculation of what should she do next. She's 2-5 in her last 7 fights. If you look at her and Diego, I think they're in dramatically different positions. Diego, where he's at in his career, if he won his next 4 fights, he's probably not getting in title contention. With the way the women's division is, specifically the bantamweight division, as much as Holly has struggled of late, she goes out and wins her next 2 fights, she's right back in line for another title shot. So when you talk about, well, this fighter should do this and this fighter should do that, you kind of have to look at their place. And I think theoretically Holly in 2 fights could be right back in contention.
Is the only consideration her place in line, or is it also age, career, health?
Yeah, look, certainly when she sits down and figures out what she wants to do, she's considering a lot of things. But my point is, if you're Diego and you're looking at the big picture, I can keep fighting and I can keep making money and I can be competitive. The crowd loves me.
Agreed.
But if you're looking at Holly, well, 2 fights and I'm in line for a title shot again. So, I mean, I think it's a different situation. It's hard to tell fighters what they should do. If Holly were to call me up, I'd probably say, you know what, you've had a great career. You've managed your money well. You got a lot of outside interest. Well, why keep doing it? For her, though, maybe the allure of another title shot, might be too strong to deny.
Well, don't you have to look at how it ended? No one's freaking out over Diego because he went the distance and it was a decision. With Holly, you watched her get knocked out.
Sure.
And that's the immediate reaction you have to those fights. A Ben Askren, just wow moment as opposed to a decision. So, how much do you think that is playing with people's responses, seeing how that fight ended?
Oh, no, absolutely. And Amanda dropped her. Certainly that plays into it as well. Again, I think if you look back over her last 7 fights, she's fought the cream of the crop. Yeah. She goes 5 rounds with Cyborg. She breaks her hand early in the fight against Valentina Shevchenko and finishes that fight. The Durandame fight, a lot of people thought she actually won. So it's not like she's just been getting kicked all over the place. But, yeah, Saturday night was a rough ending to that fight for sure.
All right. Soccer. USA wins the World Cup. The men lose in the final of the Gold Cup. I was hearing it was like the biggest day or potentially the biggest day in the history of United States soccer. Certainly it was a big day. Put it in perspective.
Well, for the women, it's still a battle for them because the expectations are they are the best in the world, so they should win, and it's kind of like whatever to a lot of people. But the teams that they beat on their way, you look at the FIFA rankings, France, England, and even Spain where they were, like they played the best teams on their way to beating a Netherlands team who was the European champion of the recent tournament there. So it's very successful, and it almost feels like they can't do enough to get the level of respect. And a way I equate it is kind of like Golden State. A lot of people watch them. I don't need to watch basketball this year. Golden State's just going to win. And it takes away from just how good they actually are to have that accomplishment. And for this women's team, winning games 2-1, having to get a penalty kick save, it just shows that they have been at the forefront. The investment has been there from the U.S. I know there's talk they deserve more investment, but they have changed the game for women around the world. And it's the on and off field burden that this team carries, and they're still successful.
You gonna miss watching it?
Oh, of course. I am.
You watch a lot of it?
I watch some of it, sure, absolutely. Equal pay, yes or no?
I think that they deserve a raise because this is a U.S. Soccer Federation, so they don't have to do a model just because. They can bump up the pay for the women, raise the base salary, and I think that is absolutely fair because this is a conversation that we can't fit into the video of the sponsorships are sold as one, not individual. And if you want to keep throwing at me the men's World Cup numbers, well, I'm going to throw at you. That team didn't qualify, so how should they earn any of that money?
How much of that did they actually get? All right, Sports Bar every day, 3 o'clock. Mike Carlisle, Mike Trujillo, Mike Vitale.
There'll be a Mike on the show.
Yeah.
You know that for sure.
And opening drive every day, 7 a.m. for you here on the Sports Animal.
And your weekly Benchwarmers code word is prize, and text cello to 62582 for a chance to win a $50 Cello Grill gift certificate.
Cello.